from the ground up, and then sold to Flutterwave, and then ended up working with Flutterwave. And the product is called Penny Smart. I think that is a very smart move to make, if you ask me. It's not penny at all. It's huge, you know. So he's got the dollars rolling in his bank account. Hopefully he'll be able to share some for us before he leaves today. Yeah, that's the $1 million smile over there. Yeah. So trust me, you'll get something good, definitely. And so, yes, with no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to hand over to Yao Baku to give us some insights. Yao, take it away.
All right. Thank you very much, Nicoy. Hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you all. I believe this conversation has been going on for a while, and I've been saying, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But the team has been really, I'd say, tenacious in following up. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it, because there's someone who might learn a bit or two from how my experience went and anything they can apply to their own startup. So I created some slides. So I'm just going to present that today. Just give me a thumbs up if you can see. If you can see my screen. Okay, all right. So I tried creating the slides in Magic Patterns, but Magic Patterns doesn't allow me to be able to export that into a PDF or a PowerPoint. So I had to move the slides into Figma individually. So it's just going to be a PDF. So I'm just going to scroll down and then go through it with you. So yeah, so the topic for discussion today, Nicoy, if you can confirm, how long do I have?
I'm thinking you have just about, say, I'm also not very sure on that, maybe an hour and a half.
Okay.
If Poga is on here, can Poga please confirm, or Abena, if Abena Aquila is around, you can please confirm. I'm not very sure on the timing.
Okay, I don't think I'm going to take the whole hour. I just have about 15 slides, so I'm just going to go through it. Talk about the experience. We can use the rest of the time to like ask questions, have like more conversations instead of you listening to me. So yeah, let's just go with that approach. So the topic.
Sure, I think that works.
All right, great. So the topic that the team sent to me was how to grow your startup from zero to acquisition. So I'm going to start with just quickly. Okay. I'm just going to start with an intro to myself. I initially designed a slide with my pictures there, and I was like, no, it's not relevant. So I slapped pictures elsewhere. So who am I? I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've registered three official businesses as at now. One failed, one got acquired, which is why we're having this conversation, and the other one is still ongoing at the moment. So yeah, I see myself as an entrepreneur and also an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur meaning that I start my own things from the beginning, and then try and run it. The entrepreneur is when I join an organization, I assume a role of an entrepreneur inside the organization where I try to drive growth. So whatever role I'm in at the moment, I see it as an opportunity for me to run that particular role as a business. So things I can do to contribute to the revenue of the company or help cut down their costs, or even just help them optimize their processes at the moment. And I really love building impactful products. Sadly, my whole experience has been in fintech. Okay, so I'm going to take questions later on. So
sorry, Yao.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to prompt you that you could still present your PDF When you go to the three dots on your top right, you would see present. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, much better. So I would just have to like, so it's a
Oh dear.
that would
Okay.
work
Yeah, I get it now. I get it now.
because
Yeah.
I exported it from Figma, so I would have to
That's
like
fine.
do it this way. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. So yeah, if I'm working in a company, I focus on how to help the company generate revenue, reduce their costs or improve their processes, and also always try to introduce growth hacks into wherever I am. So yeah, that's a bit about me. Penny Smart journey. So high level Penny Smart was started by two of us, Joshua and I. I'll go into in depth during the call. So two of us started in about August of 2018. The conversation closed around March of 2020. Then Joshua and I joined Flutterwave post acquisition. So what Penny Smart sought to build was just to allow our young professionals to be able to save towards earmarked goals. So if you want to save towards, I want to buy a laptop, or I want to buy a phone, I want to travel to the States or the UK or Europe, or I want to save towards marriage or school or anything you want to save towards, we try to make it easy for you to save a little bit towards that. We raised 25K from Baobab, and then we used that to build Penny Smart. Yeah, after Penny Smart, I joined Flutterwave, worked at Flutterwave for 2 years, where I worked on different aspects from product growth to product management. Then I moved to join another cross-border payment company where I worked also there as a product manager, help them to build their card issuing products, their onboarding products, payment links, and a few other products. Before that, I actually worked briefly at a cryptocurrency company, also as a PM, to help them do their on and off ramp. Basically, how to build an integration with several on ramps to allow people who want to be able to move money from, fiat, say Ghana cedis or USD, and they want to buy Ethereum, Cardano, Bitcoin, or whatnot. You can move money into that. And if you want to move money from those cryptocurrencies into fiat, um, you can do that. So I did that for a bit. Um, After Verto, I left to build my own company. We started this year. And we raised from Baobab again, because I've worked with Baobab in the past. It was easy for me to raise capital from them again to build Regulon, which I'm still working on at the moment. So the bits that we would cover today would be pick an idea from an idea stage to MVP, then moving to growth and customer acquisition, fundraising and partnerships, and how to build for an acquisition. So in our case, we weren't building to be acquired. It was just a series of things we're doing that led to that conversation. And we already had most of our things in place. So it made it super easy for the acquisition to go through. Things I learned and things to avoid, not necessarily just in Penny Smart, but like my experiences across board, from working with different companies and building several companies. And then we'll just go to Q&As. So our journey ideally started from idea, where so I was building another company that allowed young professionals to be able to, because as at then in 2017, there were lots of fund houses. So those who are in Ghana at the moment realized that there were a lot of fund houses back then. There was First Fund, there was SAS, there was Data Bank. There were so many of them then. And I was trying to invest back then. and I didn't know how to be able to go about it because there were just a lot of them. So I decided to build a company that made it easy for people to answer a few questions, such as how much are you looking at investing, what are investment horizons, what are your risk appetites, and based off of that, we can be able to, tell you that, okay, there are over excess number of fund houses or investment houses available. These are their products, and these are the ones that fit your investment criteria. So you can be able to get more information on that specific instrument, and then you can then fill the form online and then like purchase your investments with them. So we did that. So that's what we did. One of the things we did through that was allow people to buy shares in NTN when NTN was doing an IPO back then in Ghana. So we had people not just in Ghana, but who were also, what's it called, outside the country to be able to buy shares as a result of that growth strategy that we did. But the bit was, I realized was that still investments was a bit technical and it was hard for people to make head out of it. So my co-founder Joshua back then was working on a property management application called Jolude. So we were roommates when we were working at MEST. So yes, I actually went to Meltwater Entrepreneur School of Technology, where I met Joshua. So Joshua and I started talking and realized that, okay, if we want to solve something, what would be the easiest thing to solve? And I already had experience in the financial space, building something for investment products. And he also had experience building on the tech side. So we decided to come together to build what Penny Smarts would be. How we started was we reached out to people in our network. That, hey, this is what we're trying to build. Would you be interested? People said yes. So we basically collated ideas and then started building. We grew the product by also coming up with some growth hacks. Those of you who were on Twitter and were following Penny Smart, then you see some of our growth hacks that we're doing. Then we also, to make sure we're ready for investments, we started getting our books in order. We moved to Nairobi for a bit, where Joshua and I stayed, also learning about the mobile money space, because we're primarily building on mobile money for Penny Smart. Then whilst in Nairobi, we met GB, which led to the conversations, and later on concluded conversations. I believe it was it was one of the hotels. There's another hotel next to Movenpick. I've forgotten it. Is it? Yeah, was it? No, there was another hotel next to Movenpick. Met there, concluded conversations, and then everything started. So we, from idea stage, registering a company to selling it, took 1 year, 8 months. That was the time we took. So ideally, when you're trying to build a company that ideally you want the end goal is to either get acquired or to be able to IPO anything, you need to build a strong team. So that's us actually in Nairobi. That picture is us in Nairobi. So the picture in there, that's Joshua, and I'm the skinny one. I'm not so skinny anymore. I'm the one in the glasses over there at the extreme right. So before we actually even got into touch with Baobab, what we did was we first of all had a clear distinction of what we would do as a team. So in there, Joshua was handling building off the product. So he was a coding guy. He was an engineer, coding and everything. He was also doing product. I was also doing product. I was also doing growth and also bits of the business development part. when we joined, we were clear on what the stakeholder or what the shares were going to be, because that's one of the things that actually becomes an issue when building a team. As like, oh, what percentage do you have? What percentage do you have? So we didn't want to have any of those issues, so we just like split it into two, which was super easy. He had his clear rules, what he needed to do. I had my clear rules on what I needed to do. And one of the things we did as a hack, because Joshua is Nigerian, right? Um, if we were registering the company in Ghana, and for us to have Joshua there as a co-founder, it meant we needed to, first of all, I think there was an amount we needed to pay to the it's GIPC back then, because he was Nigerian. So all of that was becoming tricky. So we found a hack around it, where we identified a close friend of ours, and the close friend stayed in as what's it called, a shareholder on the books. And then what we did was we drafted a share transfer agreement with that person where they signed it. So technically on the books, Joshua won't appear in. So if you go to the OCR, I think ORC or OCR now, and check, you won't see Joshua there as a shareholder, but you see him as a director, because if he needed to own shares in the company legally, it meant that we needed to pay so much money, and we're broke back then. We didn't have money. So we did that bit to solve that. And when we were registering the company in Delaware, in the States, then that was much easier for him to be on the books as an actual shareholder. So that was a hack we did. Regarding Regulon, my current startup, we're three. So you have me, you have Timmy, who lives in London, and you have Kweku. So we split the roles as well. So I was focusing on products and strategy. Timmy had a lot of experience in marketing and growth, so he was handling marketing, growth, and ops. And Kweku was focusing on engineering. So ideally, if you're building a startup, the basic thing is have a strong team and have like clearly defined roles. In terms of the idea for Penny Smart, as I mentioned earlier, when we had the idea of what we wanted to build, what we did was, I remember clearly, we had joined back then. There was I don't know if it's still going on, the YC Startup Program. So we joined the YC Startup Program, and one of the things they advised us on was during our office hours was make sure that you focus on weekly increments. So every single week, you need to make sure, have we grown a little bit? Have we either improved on the product? Have we gotten XX number of customers? So we wanted to move very fast, and for us to wait for Joshua to complete building the whole product, to realize that, okay, it was going to take too much time. So what we did was we had an Excel sheet or a spreadsheet of a list of potential people we could reach out to, and then we start calling them that, oh, hey, we are a savings club. This is what we do. We can help you to be able to save towards, your earmarked goals. So we got a list of things, and we created the account opening form on Google. So think of the product as the sign-up form on Google. So we use Google Forms. We linked it with Zapier, and then it was going straight to Airtable. So we Airtable, then we're able to keep track. And we opened a mobile money accounts in my name, because I'm Ghanaian. Then so we opened a mobile money accounts. So we call people, hey guys, this is what we're doing. We're a savings club. We're trying to get members who are trying to save money towards blah 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 blah. You can be able to save XXX amount, either every day, every week, or every month. So yeah, this is our phone number. If you're interested, you can join. And yes, people start filling the Google Forms, and then they start like sending money manually to my mobile money. So then with the Airtable, we're tracking, okay, Kushia has saved 10 Ghana cedis this week, save 10 Ghana cedis next week. So we're just calling people. So every single week, we're calling them. Whilst Joshua was building a product, I was doing that manual bit, calling people every week that, hey, you saved 10 Ghana cedis last week. Would you like to save another this week? It's like, yeah. So we ideally started small. Like we encourage people like save 5 Ghana cedis, 10 Ghana cedis, a little bit to make it easier for people to start saving. So it was manual in the first place to validate were people interested in doing this, and we realized that yes, they were. So what we did afterwards when people started saving was we didn't want to go through the process of waiting to have the whole product ready before we can be able to start getting customers. So we went to a savings, fund house. I believe then it was SAS. Yes, it was SAS. And we opened a savings club account. So a group account with them, which is a savings club called Penny Smart. And back then, because if you're operating as a savings club, you don't need a license then, right? And because we're collecting money, it meant that we needed to be regulated. So we had to find ways to like move around the whole process to be able to start executing. So we started as a savings club, opened the accounts, and anytime we get the money, we just like send it to SAS, deposits it into their they had a money markets fund back then. So we started putting money into the money market fund. So the money market fund is ideally a short-term mutual fund. It could be a unit trust or a mutual fund, but we went for the mutual fund. I believe it was a mutual fund then. I can't remember. It was a while back. So it was a mutual fund back then. Mutual funds or money markets funds ideally are funds that allows you to be able to withdraw so quickly within a short period. So we couldn't put the money into any type of financial instruments that had a long withdrawal period. So we went for a money market fund. So we started with that process. It was manual. We didn't have any tech, no websites, nothing of the sort. It was just like me calling people every other week that, oh, hey, and just tracking them, and also just constantly talking to them to find out if we're to build a product for them, how they want it, so that we know how to be able to build for them, so that we don't build anything in silo and then come back and they're like, oh, hey, we're not going to use this product. So I was constantly talking to them. And we focused on one thing. It was just savings, and realized that savings, there were so many things we could do on savings. There were an option for group savings. There's an option for round robin, like Susu. You can have saved and you give it to this person of this particular month, and then save, give it to the other. So there were so many things we could come up with. So we focused on savings. That was that pain point, because as at then, which is highly still a great thing now, it's hard for people to save. So we focused on saving. And for us to make it easier for people to save is we need to remove that burden on people to remember to save. So which means that we needed to build an automated process for people to save. And to build an automated process, we needed to find a way where it has to be a standing order. But as at then, there was no solution, or there was no tech tool there that could allow us to automate savings. The only one there was Flutterwave, and then Paystack. Paystack hadn't moved to Ghana back then. I think they were still trying to move back to Ghana, but Flutterwave already had some footprints in Ghana as at then. So it was a technology we could use, but we also realized that Flutterwave's recurring savings or recurring debit feature was built on card. And back then, predominantly, what people use were mobile money. So we had to focus on that bit, mobile money. So we reached out to our friends, people in the industry that, hey guys, this is what we're trying to do. Like, do we have any PSP back then who could support that feature? And we found out that MTN had a recurring feature on mobile money where you can actually automate your savings or automate debit from mobile money accounts, MTN mobile money. So when we found out that, we started looking for which of the payment providers back then had that technology or had that feature that we can be able to integrate in. We found one ultimately, and we're able to integrate with them. We had to go back to the MTN office several times, do a lot of UAT tests, lots of things we needed to fill to make sure we were ready then. But before we all ultimately got there, we also started the groundwork of seeing what type of license could we get. Because, hey, like I mentioned earlier, we're broke, right? We didn't have a lot of money. And we had to find a way to be able to go for the type of license from BOG that allowed us to be able to save. So there's the I believe it was a cooperative license, but it was like a SUSU license. So there's a license from BOG. There are several tiers of license, like from a low level all the way to a banking license. So we went for the SUSU license, because SUSU license technically allowed us to take deposits from the general public, and then we can be able to build the products on that. So we started the process of getting a SUSU license, which meant we needed to get an office in place. So I had met Will, the co-founder of Impact Hub, a while back then when I was with Nest. So I reached out to him that, hey, this is what we're trying to build. We don't have a lot of money. We need an office space because we need a legit office space to be able to get a license and whatnot. He said, cool. He granted us access to the open working space. So we started working from OSU. So even if you check Penny Smart's address, even at the OCR, you realize that it's still registered to Impact Hub. So yeah, we got the office space. We're able to get the license. We paid for it. We had to go to several of the SUSU bits. They had to send someone to come in, talk to us whilst we're Impact Hub. They needed an office, right? So we had to like use the meeting room and say, oh no, this is our office. This is where we are. When the day they were coming, we had a pull-up banner, put it there on the side and everything. So we had to like do things to allow us to be able to get where we needed to get to. So we had the interview, everything went well. They granted us the license in principle. So there's two things. They initially grant you an approval as a SUSU company, and then the process of they submit everything to BOG, and then BOG then gets you a proper template, a proper license, which is like a document later on, because we would need those things ultimately if we were to grow, to provide trust to external people or our users that, hey, we're actually licensed, so everything is good. Which meant that getting that SUSU license meant we had a reporting obligation where we had to report to the SUSU organization of how many users we have, how many people have saved, how much they have saved, how many people have withdrawn their money, how many people's money has stayed with us. Are we doing anything with the money? Are we not doing anything with the money? So it created that fiduciary obligation for us, which was good. It meant that we already had all those processes in place, so it was also easier to build trust elements from the general public regarding that bit. So yeah, we had to register another company, which was because the initial company was a limited liability company, but the Susu company has to be another. It has to be what's it called? Because Susu, it has to be a sole proprietorship. So we then created what do you call it? A board resolution that the company blah 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 has authorized Yao Baku to create a sole proprietorship with the sole purpose of acquiring a Susu license to support the financial or the legal obligations of the company. So we had to create another company, which was, I believe, Penny Smart Susu Services, because we can't have limited. It has to be services or some or enterprise or anything of the sort. So we can have an LTD. So we created that bit, and then we went ahead and pushed the product out. So yeah, we started doing iterations. One of the things when we pushed the product out, we started talking to people, migrating them to the product, where we built it in a way you can be able to tell us, give us a profile. My name is this. This is how much I'm looking to save. This is how frequently I want to be able to save. Then we send you a USSD code, and I think you approve with your Momo PIN back then, which will then authorize the recurring debit on mobile money. So we built that. It was going well, but we wanted to grow, and we also wanted to get closer to our customers. So we started creating things. So this was our first. I think this was 2018. We created the first flyer. Called the Penny Meetup. So most of the people there you're going to see in the very first meetup, a huge number of them are my friends. So at the extreme ends are Joshua and I. At the middle are just like the initial people who were saving, who were using the product, and then people who we've never met before, who somebody introduced us to, or they told them about Penny Smarts, and they started using the product. So we met them for the first time. We had conversations with them. They gave us ideas that, oh, hey guys, this is how you should do it. This is how I like to save. This is how I should do. So at that point, then we started growing the team. At the startup, we didn't have a lot of money to pay a lot of people. So we had people who were coming, helping us, we were going. So it was constantly the two of us, Joshua and I, as of 2018. So yeah, we were doing meetups. First meetup was good. Then we tried to then we learned and then moved to improving on our designs, because we're learning, right? We're improving our design. So you see the very first meetup flyer. This was the first meetup flyer, and you realize that there's considerable growth. We started investing on our visuals. At that point, we had Instagram accounts where people were interacting with us there, because we needed to have visibility, right? Then we started having more people meeting up. People from the ecosystem were starting to join us to learn about what we're doing, give us advice, this is how we can do it. So yeah, we started doing customer acquisition that way before Oracle joined us later on. So we were doing that. We're also doing bits shining. We're doing user stories, where we pick particular user that's been saving, just like shining lights on them on our Medium post. Our Medium post is so live. Actually, that's where I got most of the pictures, because I don't have access to these pictures. So they're all on our Medium, on the Penny Smart Medium. On the Penny Smart Medium, yeah, so we're doing lights on our story, on our users. We're tweeting more often, and then we were looking at ways to grow. As of then, we had just about 100 or 100 getting to 200 people that were saving, but we want to grow, because as I mentioned, one of the things we learned from YC Startup School was grow in the scale of zeros. So the very first clients you have would be a 0 client. Then the next one you have is 1. Then you grow that to 10. then that's a milestone. And the next focus is from 10, you move to 100, and from 100, you move to 1,000. So we're looking at, let's grow in that trajectory. So the easiest way for us to grow is start introducing growth hacks. And then what we realize is, so the thing is, I'm a Marvel fan. I really love, let me expand this a bit. Okay, so I'm a comic nerd. I read comics and also watch a lot of anything comic that comes out, I'm going to watch it. And I realized that when Black Panther came out, there were so many people who wanted to watch Black Panther, and the tickets, it was difficult to get tickets. If you were in a crowd back then, and you realize that what's it called, Silverbed Cinema, you had to shout through people to get into the cinema during Black Panther. So a lot of people were watching Marvel movies back then. So I realized that, okay, there are so many people like me, there are so many people who watch a lot of these superhero movies. So a good way to be able to get us to increase our numbers is work with Silverbed and see how we can get people to save towards Avengers Endgame very, very early. So what I did was I went to Silverbed, drafted an agreement with them. We acquired a whole cinema for Penny Smart. And then that's way ahead, like about 3 months before the movie was going to come out. And we encourage people to save like 50 Ghana cedis or 60 Ghana cedis. I think the tickets was about 60 Ghana cedis back then. Yeah, it was 60 Ghana cedis. So we told, we actually got the tickets about the cinema for 50, but we added 10 extra cedis on it to allow us to be able to get people popcorns without them having to buy popcorns, get them to, you know, what's it called, have a sit down, get them stickers, our paraphernalia, so that they can be able to know a bit more about Penny Smart. So we introduced what we called, Jay said he was part of this movie experience. Yeah, thank you. So what we did was we created a new hack, which was called Penny Smart Circles or Circles. Circles basically means that you can introduce, you have a group of friends, you come together and say, hey, let's save towards a trip to here. This is our budget. And then we have a month of this period to save towards it. So people were saving 1 Ghana cedis a day, 2 Ghana cedis the next day, 3 Ghana cedis. It really didn't matter. All you had was, you have an end goal of this is how much you need to save towards it. Then you can save towards it. You can either make the payments as a lump sum or you can spread it over a bit, because this would allow us to be able to get more users. And I think the cinema was taking about 60 then. I wasn't sure, about 60 then or so. So we started doing promos. We're calling our users, hey guys, this is something we have. If you're a movie lover, join this circle. So we had, so this you're seeing over here, this was how we had it. And you don't need to own an account on Penny Smart to do it. You can, so we just put it there as a page so people could join. And we also created a leaderboard to allow some form of gamification for people to know that, oh, hey, people are it. And one of the things we realized during that was people were buying tickets for other people, right? It wasn't just buying the tickets for themselves. So we realized that, okay, maybe what we can do is reach out to other startups that want to give a movie night or a movie entertainment to their team. So I started calling a lot of startups that, hey guys, this is what we're doing. If you can get X number of your team can join, we can give you X discount to secure a seat. And that went really well. So for example, you see Aloha here. Aloha is a co-founder, and she bought seats for some of the colleagues on her team to join that. So as much as we're introducing other growth hacks, we needed to also introduce a bit of a manual element to it, where we had to call people and tell them this is what we're doing. We're tweeting, we're getting people to join. As it was getting closer to the day, we were calling people that, hey guys, this is the number of seats left. You've saved up to this amount. It doesn't guarantee you a seat. You need to like complete your savings to be able to grab a seat. So that help people have that some sense of urgency to be able to complete their savings as quickly as possible. Oh, I've been talking for close to 40 minutes. I'm going to rush through it. So long and short, when the movie came, it was very, very messy. There were so many people there, but we already had a pre-arrangement with Silverbed. There's a back door that's there. So we set our stand in the Accra Mall, directed people pass this way, pass this way. There was someone there guiding people to enter the cinema because the cinema was so crowded. There was no space to move around. Without dedicated cinema, we just had that door closed. People were passing through the back door and they didn't have to go through that. So yeah, the movie was great. Weirdly, that was the only Marvel movie that I didn't see as in a premiere because I had to watch it because I had to stay because people came late. So I had to stay to make sure everybody came in. Logistics were that was our first time doing something with the source. So the logistics were a big yeah, there are a lot of things we could have done better in terms of logistics. But yeah, it went really well. People watched the movie, they enjoyed it. And after the movie ended, I quickly went on stage, thanked everyone, thank you for coming. And mind you, I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people, right? But when you're building a startup, you need to get out of that space as an introvert, right? You need to know that, hey, you're trying to grow your business. So I had to stand on the stage, talk to everybody. Hey guys, this is what we're doing. Here are stickers. Join Penny Smart. You've saved towards this, so you can create your own groups with your friends, save towards other things. But please, please, please tweet about us. We need you to tweet about us. So people started tweeting about us. So these are some of the tweets you're saying. Avengers Endgame was an awesome ride. Thank you, Penny Smart, for the VIP experience. It was worth every penny. People with the puns. It was good, right? Getting people to talk about us. So as a growth, any growth strategy or growth hack you're doing, word of mouth is a very huge thing to get people to trust your product. So always try to engineer word of mouth into any growth hack you're building. It allows people to trust you because people know their friends, and if their friends are using your product, they are most likely going to use your product. So always build two things when you're building growth hacks. You should always build a network effect. The more people use a product, the more the other people are also getting benefits. So if I'm using a product and I have other people using the product, the probability of somebody creating a savings cycle that I can be able to join, the effect is wider. So always make sure you have a network effect, and always make sure you have a growth loop. Allow people to be able to come back if they use a product as a result of this particular feature. Maybe allows them to use another feature, or allows them to use another thing, or allows them to refer another person to use a product. Always build those tiny things in there. They are very helpful, and that was what Penny Smart Circles or Penny Circles was meant for. Because if one person comes to Penny Smart, creates a group towards a group trip, they're going to invite all the people who are going on the group trip with them to join Penny Smart as well, so that they can be able to save towards that particular group trip. That way, we are doing less work to get more people, because one person would bring a bunch of all their friends to do that. So those are some of the growth hacks we did. In terms of finding product market fit, did we find product market fit before we got acquired? No, I don't think we did, but we were on the way. So we were working with other people in the space, anyone who has a good Twitter presence, we reach out to them. I think the image here was a trip that Ganyubi did, and he put out a tweet about places you can go to in Ghana on a budget. So we quickly reached out to him, told him, hey, can we use your images for this? I would like to talk to you about how much you spent on the trip. So based off of that, we got insights and we started creating things like penny trips, where we can partner with a travel agency to organize trips across Ghana, where people can be able to save towards it. So we're looking at growth strategies that would always allow us to be able to get people to use the product and save towards things. Things that we were looking at is our North Star metric was assets under management, the number of assets under management, which meant the amount of cash we had or that we were managing at the moment. That was one of our that was our North Star metric. We had other metrics such as how many groups are people in terms of penny circles, how often are people saving, how much they are saving, how often are people withdrawing, and all those things. We had to like measure all of that. So yes, whatever product you're building, you always have to measure to make sure that you're always achieving your North Star metric. Our North Star metric was assets under management. So whatever we need to do to grow the number of savings on the platform, we had to do it. So everything we did always had to go towards that key North Star metric, is get people to save more, which meant, is it to get more people to save less or get few people to save more? It could be anything, right? So we're exploring different ways to be able to get it to increase the amount we're saving, because if we increase the amount we're saving, first of all, it makes it easier for us to approach an investor and say, hey, guess what? We are managing, say, 2 million Ghana cedis for X number of users at the moment. We need money to be able to scale. You know, all those things makes it attractive for an investor to be able to invest in you. So always have a North Star metric. This is that metric that guides the whole business, no matter what. Also listen to your users. Don't wait for them to reach out to you via email or your socials. Call them. If you're a founder, don't delegate this other employee in the company. In the very first few years, do that yourself. Talk to your customers, call them. Hey, how are you doing? How's your experience? If you don't have their contact, send them an email. Hey, I'd like to schedule like a feedback section. I want to learn about what your experience are with the product. Have that personal relationship with them. That's the thing I learned, that because we were talking to our customers, right? They had this comfort that, okay, even though these are two guys we don't know from anywhere, they're constantly talking to us, they have my phone number, which is not the right thing to do. I would always advise that have a different phone number for customer service, not to give your personal number out. But I was using my personal number back then to call these people, which meant that if anything, they can call me at odd hours, which is not right. You need to separate your personal life from your business life to an extent. So have a different phone number, but call your users, talk to them, get their feedback, make changes. Penny Smart, we were making changes almost every week, if not every 2 weeks. So when waiting to do a very large release, maybe the very first thing we built was just a skeleton. The next week you come, you realize that the UI is a bit refined. The next week come, you realize that there's a little bit of change. That creates an impression with our users that, oh, we were constantly improving on the product. We were constantly building. So it also allayed their fears that, oh, these guys were just going to take our money and run away, because they realized that the product was constantly improving. They were getting emails, they were getting calls from us. So it improved their trust elements. So these are some of the things I did that I'm still doing. It's regular, that I always do with any company I'm working with. I try to speak to users as often as possible to get more feedback from them. Then let me quickly just run through, since we are running out of time. Fundraising. How were we to raise funds back then? Um, when we started, we had a fellow at MEST who we told that, hey, this is what we're trying to build. We don't have money. And she gave us, how much did Faye give us? I believe Faye gave us $5,000. Yeah, she gave us $5,000. Then we used that money to open our Delaware company. Was it $5,000 back then? I can't remember. But yeah, she gave us money. This is someone we know. So she gave us money. We used to open our Delaware company so that we can be able to attract actual investors, because investors aren't going to invest with you if they don't know you're registered in a country where the rules and regulation protect their investment. So we had to do US a registration there. So we were lucky that back then Startup School had a list of pecs for those who were parts of the program. So we had Stripe Atlas there. We had there is another company that I'm forgetting, because there was Stripe Atlas and there was another. We didn't use Stripe Atlas. We used the other one. It's just an easy name. I forgot it. If I remember, I'll let you know. So yeah, we did that registration there. We got access to Google for free for a whole year as a result of that. So we're looking for pecs. We didn't have money. So it's like pecs. What pecs will allow us to have this percentage out or this free money? So that's how we were running the business. We used what's it called, Intercom, for our customer service. Intercom is one of the best customer service tools that I have used building my startup, because Intercom allows you to be able to have the app on your phone. So Joshua and I will be out at parties late at night. A customer has message, we got a notification on our phone, we quickly ask each other, yo, this person has said this, what do we do? Let's do this. So we're replying to customers. So it felt as if like we were there for them anytime they needed us, because we're using Intercom. And Intercom also allowed us to be able to push out blog posts and also create FAQs, which are like help centers, which a lot of major startups still use today. So that's one of the things we're using. Yeah, fundraising. So we did all of that. We started applying for accelerator programs, and then we go into the what's it called, the radar of Baobab. Baobab, we're excited about what we're doing. So they flew us to Nairobi, and we spent about a week or a week and a half in Nairobi, where we like did workshops. They had people from Accenture, and they had also someone from JP Morgan who did our financials for us. So we had those calls, we had those workshops with them. We built a roadmap. They gave us 25K. We got that's when Oreku joined us. We started getting growth. We were trying to grow our numbers as quickly as possible. During that process as well, we were lucky to get into Antler. So whilst in Nairobi, we heard about the Antler program in Nairobi. So we applied, we had the interviews. We came back to Ghana, I think, for a month, and then we had to go back to Nairobi again, where we stayed for a while with the Antler program, where we were meeting a lot of investors. We went through the program to grow our startup, and we had gotten through the IC. So IC is the investment committee. We had gotten through the IT, and Antler was going to give us an extra 100K to be able to grow Penny Smart. After that stage, we were also having conversation with other potential investors, right? And that's when we came into contact with GB as well. Joshua had a conversation with GB. It was I believe it was in July. It was in July or August of 2019. So the conversation kept going. He wanted to invest in us initially with his own money. So we're having a conversation with a lot of investors. Investor conversations are long. Nobody tells you that. People tell you that, oh, it would take you, what's it called? It would take you a month or 2 months or 3 months to raise money. It's no, it's easier when you're in the developed world, like in the West, the Americas, the UK, the Europe. It's much easier to raise money so quickly. But if you're raising from Africa, the process is so long. So don't wait till your runway is like very short before you start raising. Raise thinking that it's going to take 6 months minimum for you to raise. Yes, there are sometimes you can take 6 weeks to complete a fundraising. Sometimes it can take long. So just think that you're going to take 6 months to raise. So we're having daily calls with investors, not daily calls, like periodic calls, like almost every week we're speaking to other investors, we're pitching, this is what we're doing, this is what we intend to do. We want to get this license, we want to grow this number, we want to get this, we want to do that. Like we're having those calls, and it was getting very, very long. And that was at the end, because we started fundraising at the latter end of 2019. Getting to 2020, that's when the COVID bits started happening. So it was getting tricky, and we were running out of money, and we're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because during COVID, things are shutting down. Um, Things were slowly shutting down. And we were lucky, and GB were trying to raise, and GB was like, hey guys, instead of um instead of me investing say 20K in you guys, how about you guys join Flutterwave, right? Flutterwave will get penny smart, and then you guys would bring your skill sets and everything to Flutterwave, um, and then we can be able to, work together on this. So just when I thought about it, we deliberated, right? Were we old enough, right, to get acquired? Did we have a lot of users to have quote unquote a negotiating power as to how much we want to sell? Um, do we think this is right for our career? So we had a lot of thinking, a lot of like talks about this. We ultimately said yes. Why? Because one, it made it easier for us to be able to learn because we're so young in our career. It was easier for us to learn with a company that's almost at a scale-up stage, how to run effective teams, how to be able to grow. It allowed us to be able to tap into that knowledge base. Also, the tag of were acquired was something that was good, that we should have early on in our careers because it would propel us growing. Because Joshua and I were always going to go back and build our own things again, right? It would make it easier for us to be able to acquire, like raise capital easily going forward. So yeah, we reached out to our investors, Baobab, and we told them that, hey guys, this is what's going on. Flutterwave wants to acquire us. What do you guys think? This is what we think. And they're like, they thought about it, and our logic makes sense to them. If this is what we truly want, they're in support of us. So yeah, so the whole acquisition process started. We closed it out at the end. I think it took like 2 months. There's just so much back and forth because we had several companies. As of then, we had like 3 companies: the savings company, the limited liabilities company, and the Delaware company. So we had to like do transfer of all of that. It means that we needed to pay what's it called, our angel investor out as well, because it was like a loan. That's how we structured it. It was like a loan. We had an agreement. She wrote it down. It's like, I'm giving you guys this loan. So we sent the money back to her. to Shay, which we're so grateful for. I'm so grateful for meeting Shay, the first person who believed in us to just like give us her own money. So yeah, we closed the acquisition, ended up moving to Flutterwave and started working on roles. Things that we did that made it easy for the acquisition to go through quickly was we kept documents of everything, right? All the things we spent on, um, how many users we had, how much they were investing for, what all our salaries, all our taxes, everything. We had documents of everything, right? We took a picture of every receipt. We had everything so that if anything happens, we have records of everything. So we documented everything. So it was super, super easy. Where we actually even contracted with an accounting firm to do an audit on us. We were young back then and we didn't need to do all of that, but we already did all of that. So it made it super, super easy for the acquisition to go through because we had all those documents in place. They had reviewed our accounts, everything. We did that. Yeah. In terms of ops, we use tools to make our life easy. We're using Notion all the time to keep track of everything. Um, Slack was our go-to for comms. Then we're using Mixpanel to keep track of our data as well, and a few other tools that we're using back then. Yeah, so I think I already spoke about this bit, so we don't even need to touch on it in terms of preparing for acquisition. Lessons I learned, always build something and also try and validate it manually before you try to add a product to it. Don't think of solutions immediately when you have an idea. Just think of how can I be able to validate this idea the most manual way as possible, right? Maybe it's another tool you need to use. It's okay, use that tool, validate it, make sure users are willing to either give you money or they're willing to use the product. Then you can start building for it. Your team is really important because there were so many times that I'll be so broke and I call Joshua, I don't have any money. It's like, you know what, I only have 50 cedis. I'm going to give you 25 cedis. And he'll give me half of that. Or he would call me that, hey, I don't have money. This is like, you need to have that person who is going to be there for you when it gets tough. So you need to have a very strong team. One of the things you should have as a startup founder as well is get close to either your family members or your friends who are close to you. Get so close to them because sometimes when it gets so tough, you may probably end up have to sleep in their house, or they have to house you or feed you for a bit. So build basically have a strong backbone with you. So when it gets tough, you have other people to talk to and tell them, hey, this is what I'm going through, and they can be able to help you release some of the burdens. Because as a founder, you're constantly going to be thinking about how do I grow our users, how do I pay how do I pay our employees, how do I grow the business because investors are giving me money. You're going to constantly be thinking about this every single day. So make sure you have people you can always talk to. Always start with the most simple ideas. I know you have a grand vision of what you want to build. Start with the basic one and slowly scale it up as time goes on. And you should learn the basic thing about finance, account keeping. You don't know it, get someone so early. Let them start keeping your books for you. Let them start telling you the right processes. Get all those things in place. It makes so much sense. Common mistakes is building without validation. So if you build something without validating, thinking, oh, I have this problem, so I think 1,000 other people have the same problem. That's not true. You always validate it. Unit economics, it's something that I learned a lot more about during my second startup, which I didn't learn during my first startup, right? Unit economics, basically looking at how much does it cost for me to acquire customers, or how much does it cost for me to, retain that particular customer. You need to know your unit economics so that it drives every single thing. It allows you to know what your cost of acquisitions are, what your lifetime values are, all those basic things. Get those things right. Third thing, documents every single thing, right? Think about every single thing you need to write. If it's your product requirements, document it. If it's your spendings, document it. If you don't have a way to document it, just be taking a picture of them, have a folder and put everything there. Get someone who can then run through everything for you. Now we have so many tools that have can automate that. I believe we have even some startups that even help with record keeping and accounting, even in the Ghanaian space right now. So you can leverage some of those. And final thing is, don't think about building for exit. Just think of growing your company. As time goes on, you would ultimately learn about your acquisition bits later on. I know I've talked a lot. I thought it was going to be a short conversation. So I'm just going to stop talking now and just like leave it for you to ask questions. Thank you.
Wow, Charlotte, that was a lot of insights, a lot of nuggets.